So one thing about adulthood is, because you don't have your mommy to cry to, because you don't have your daddy to cry to, you would have to process your emotions yourself. And one thing I noticed is that the more you grow as an adult, the more emotions start to feel more intense. It starts to feel more deep, because now any little mistake that you make, it's beginning to feel like, oh, I'm a failure, or I'm a stupid idiot, or I shouldn't have done this. Like little mistakes that you make, little errors that you make as a normal human being, even though these mistakes are regular mistakes that everybody makes, because you're an adult now and you've experienced life more now, you start to understand the depth of everything that you say. You start to understand the depth of everything that you do, right? So I realize now that the best way to handle these your emotions, this my, oh, I'm a failure emotions, oh, I'm stupid emotions, is to talk about it, right? To process it on your own. And there's some people would recommend therapy, but if you're like me, you don't like speaking to anybody about your problems, you just want to feel them and go through them by yourself. If you're like me, then the best way is to sit down and talk about it. Because I'm just a few seconds ago, I was lying down and I think I made it wasn't really a mistake, just a miscalculated move, and I was just lying down there and it was eating me up in my mind. It was eating me up, and I've not talked about it. I just thought the best way for me to get over this emotion is if I process it, if I talk to myself about it. I'm not talking to anybody about it. I'm not talking to mom, I'm not talking to dad, I'm not talking to my friend. I'm just talking to myself about it. Because if you talk about it, if you talk about these emotions, it will help you to understand. And instead of beating yourself up, because let me tell you, I'm somebody that I'm a perfectionist in my brain. It's either I do it right or I don't do it at all. Talking about these emotions will help you. You're not going to beat yourself up about it. You just know how to make a better move. And you also have to try to figure out which emotions it is that you are dealing with, because sometimes you think you're feeling anger. It's not anger. Sometimes it's just self-loathing. Sometimes it's hatred. Yeah, hatred and anger, I guess you can kind of pair those. You can kind of pair those two emotions in one box. But you need to understand where this anger is coming from, why you're feeling this anger. And I say talk about it because you're not an adult. Most adults, I'm sorry. Okay, so you're not an adult, and most adults, they don't like to talk about their emotions. Most adults would go inside their house and cry about something, as opposed to telling their parents or telling their loved one about it. They would go inside the room and they would like to cry about it. So we feel emotions heavily as adults, but we don't like to talk about it with other people. We don't like to talk about it with other people. We like to feel it by ourselves. So I think the best way to get over it, because it can linger, that emotions of, oh, I hate myself, oh, I'm so stupid, it can linger, right? So the best way to get over it is to figure it out. What emotions am I feeling right now, and how do I get over it? Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling what I'm feeling?
And of course, you can always write it down, but I suggest talking and speaking, because when you are speaking, your emotions are kind of just flying around and you don't really want to box anything in. So speaking just helps you speak from the heart and let it out and let your brain calculate it, because this is not something you're going to go back to and read. I mean, not necessarily, you don't have to go back and read it, but you could write it down if you're not a talker.
What are the ways that I could get it right next time? right? And how do I forgive myself for this? Because I think that's the hardest part, forgiving yourself. It's so difficult as an adult when you've made such a huge mistake to forgive yourself. So you ask yourself, how do I forgive myself for this mistake that I've made?